Good morning and welcome to the thoughts of the day for this 24th day of February. The scripture of the day comes from Psalm 6 and verse 9. The Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. For reading the Bible in a year, today you need to read chapters 7 and 8 of Numbers and chapter 4 and verses 21 to 41 of Mark. The thoughts for the day. You cannot depend upon your eyes when your mind is out of focus. Every Christian is like the moon. You either reflect the light of God or you live in absolute darkness. Dwell not upon thy weariness. Thy strength shall be according to the measure of thy desire. The motivation for today. Fortune truly helps those who are of good judgment. On this day, in the year 303 AD, the first official Roman edict for the persecution of Christians was issued by the Roman Emperor Diocletian. In 1920, on this day, the Nazi Party was formed in Germany. In 1969, the US launched Mariner 6. 5 months later, it was sending pictures from Mars back to Earth. And in 1981, on this day, Britain's Prince Charles announced his engagement to the Lady Diana Spencer. In 1982, Greenland voted to leave the European Common Market. And in 2020, scientists identified the first animal that doesn't need oxygen to breathe. A tiny parasite living in salmon tissue was reported in the journal PNAS. The personal story of the day, titled God is Always God. I recall a Sunday school lesson from nearly 65 years ago, in which we were taught to love God in spite of our circumstances. Loving God is easy when He grants our requests and provides what we desire. Loving Him in difficult circumstances tests our faith. In Daniel 3, we read the story of the life and death decision of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. If they chose to worship the golden image, they would live. If they refused, death was certain. But they answered King Nebuchadnezzar, "Our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. But if not, we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego lacking in faith when they said, "But if not"? No, they knew God was fully capable of delivering them from the fiery furnace. The lesson in this for all of us. Is God all-powerful? Yes. Is He able to deliver us from all of our problems? Yes. Does He always deliver us from all of our difficulties? No. We may not fully comprehend God's purpose in our difficulties and suffering, but we must not cease to love Him. We must trust Him and hope in Him, in spite of the trials that threaten to overwhelm us. The devotional thoughts for the day, and the first is based on the scripture from Joshua chapter 2 and verse 11, as we work our way through the book of Joshua. For the Lord your God, He is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. And there are further references in here from Joshua 2 and verses 1 to 24. General Douglas MacArthur was familiar with war, but he knew that the most intense battles were waged internally in the hearts of man. He said, "The world is in constant conspiracy against the brave. It's the age-old struggle, the roar of the crowd on one side and the voice of your conscience on the other. In the book of Joshua, we get the sense that the outcome of the battle was already written on the hearts of the participants. The Israelites knew the Lord was with them, and they were confident of victory. But the enemy nations had also heard of the might of the Lord and his commitment to the Israelites, and they were overcome with fear. Verse 11. The people of Canaan weren't without knowledge. Verse 10. The identity of God was not unknown to them. They knew much of what the Israelites knew. They just reacted differently to the information. But Rahab serves as a great example that there was a viable option available for the people of Jericho: faith. Rahab's story turns our perspective around. She turned against her own country, preferring and trusting God's blessing by protecting the spies. She had the boldness to ask for the mercy from God, and she was rewarded because of her faith. Not for her deception, but for the kindness that she showed to the spies. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 31. A small detail in verse 15 makes Rahab's salvation from destruction all the more astounding. Her house was part of the city wall, and we know that those walls were to crumble. But to be spared, Rahab and her family had to stay in her house. God's deliverance of Rahab wasn't just merciful, it must have been miraculous. Rahab and her family were saved, and we learn later that she actually married into the line of the Messiah. She was the great-great-grandmother of King David. You can read that in Matthew chapter 1 and verse 5. The second thought for today is entitled Looking for God's Glory. And the scripture comes from Jeremiah chapter 9 and verses 23 and 24. Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am the Lord which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith the Lord. People find many things to glory in and brag about. For the runner, it might be his speed or his distance. For the weightlifter, it's the number of pounds that he can curl. For the scholar, it might be his list of degrees and publications. For the wealthy man, it's his diverse portfolio. But none of these things brings glory that will last forever. They are at best a passing grandeur. Speaking through the prophet Jeremiah, God exhorted his people not to look for their glory in natural wisdom, power, or wealth, but in their relationship with him. It was not the armies that defended God's holy city, Jerusalem. It was not the silver and gold of the temple treasury. Israel could brag about none of these things. What was really important, what would bring glory forever, was the opportunity to grow in a relationship with the Lord. To understand and know God was something to boast about. That was all that mattered. People frantically seek their 15 minutes of fame, their moment in the limelight. They spend vast sums of money and even risk their lives to stake a fleeting claim to glory. Others try to bask in the reflected glory of the rich and famous. But none of these things are truly satisfying, let alone lasting. Only God can offer and provide that. The facts of the day. The cooling center slows the calorie burning process and dilates or opens the blood vessels in the skin to release the excess heat with a fluid known as perspiration. By the way, it's not called sweat in humans. Animals sweat, humans perspire. The release of this fluid cleanses the body as it pours through our pores, which consist of millions of tiny openings in the skin. Perspiration emerges on the surface of the skin in the form of tiny microscopic droplets, which quickly evaporate, and in doing so, cool the body to its normal temperature. Our bodies use approximately 2,500 calories of our daily intake of calorie-laden food to fuel the body. This process, known as oxidation, burns the calories, producing enough heat to bring 25 litres of water to the boiling point. Obviously, our bodies cannot tolerate this heat, which causes the temperature of the blood to rise dramatically and the cooling centre to spring into action, as we've seen above. Okay, some lighter moments for the day. First, quick and easy one. A husband is living proof that a wife can take a joke. A couple have been shopping in the local shopping mall, and they returned to the car park to find that their car had been stolen. Well, they went off to the police station and made a full report. The police officer drove them back to the car park just to see if there was any evidence that they could find, and lo and behold, the car was back there. There was an envelope on the windshield with a note of apology and 2 tickets to a music concert. The note reads, "I apologise for taking your car, but my wife was having a baby and I had to hotwire your ignition to rush her to the hospital. Please forgive the inconvenience, and here are 2 tickets for tonight's concert for Garth Brooks, the country and western music star." Well, the people felt pretty good about this. The trust in humanity had been restored. So off they went to the Garth Brooks concert, had a wonderful time, came home to find that their house had been robbed. Valuable goods were taken from everywhere through the house, from the basement to the attic. There was a note left on the door, and it said, "Well, you still have your car. I have to put my newborn kid through college somehow, don't I?" This will test how old you are. Modern music hasn't been around too long, and hopefully won't be. That's a quote from Victor Borger. Let's move to thoughts in verse, and we continue on today with verse 2 of 10,000 Reasons. Bless the Lord. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness, I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. And then the chorus. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before, O my soul. I'll worship your holy name. The closing thought for today. I'm thankful for the alarm that wakes me in the morning, for it means that I am still alive. Hope you've enjoyed today's thoughts and that you have a blessed day. Please join us again tomorrow morning for some more informing and uplifting thoughts for you. Bye for now.